Yo, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Tryhard Nation. I'm your host, the Omega Tryhard, and today we are going to go over how to beat this month's monthly event quest bosses in Master Mode. So let's jump into it. So, for starters, the first one is the first boss is Nova. He doesn't have too many any difficult nodes or anything like that, but he is a kind of tricky champion to fight on his own. So for starters, you can pick whichever path has champions that you're better at fighting or has specific items. So for instance, I took this path because it had a potion on it, and I value that more than a couple thousand gold or something like that. But again, you can pick whatever path you want. So Nova himself, his nodes are stun vulnerability and enhanced fury. So you want to try and parry him as much as possible and only hit into him when he's parried, because that's when you're going to do that 200% damage. However, Nova is you can't parry him because his initial attack has, or his medium attack has no contact and it's energy, so you just can't parry that. So if you have a specific character that can parry projectiles and stuff like that, like Proxima, I think Guardian, and oh man, there was somebody else that I can't think of right now. They're going to be really good options. If you don't have those characters, you can try to reparry, which I'll try and show you in the fight in a moment, which is basically you parry the initial attack, let go, and then parry the second attack as well. That's one way you can do it, or you can just say screw it and ignore the nodes altogether and just fight Nova. Other good characters that are good for Nova are any characters that can nullify or power control. So Dr. Voodoo, Magic, Doom, even Hawkeye. Anybody that has any source of power control or nullify is pretty much your go-to. So let's jump into the actual fight and see how we fight this. So again, he's going to be parry immune for that first hit, so I parry. For some reason, he's throwing a bunch of heavies, so let's parry that. Nope. Okay, well, let's just hit into him. There you go. You see how I could parry the light attack? It's because he was close enough. So if I can stay close, I should be able to parry him, but yeah, he's playing very defensive for some reason. And yeah, the fight could be a lot cleaner. That was a really awkward fight because he was playing really defensive for some reason. I'm not 100% sure, but again, yeah, just parry, try and parry his light attack, so dash into him and then just stop attacking so you can close that distance, and when he does that light attack, parry it and you'll be able to do that like normal. Or you can do the quote-unquote re-parry, which is where you parry the first hit and then let go of the block button and parry the second hit. I couldn't show you in that demonstration because again, for some reason he was just loving throwing heavies, but that's another way to do it. So let's jump into the next fight. So let's go ahead and look at the nodes that are on Storm Pyramid X. So she has parry vulnerability again, so you want to be parrying her and then doing that damage. But she has, you also get a passive fury, increasing your attack by 75% for 15 seconds. So that's a pretty massive attack increase. And additionally, the attacker gains plus 200% attack rating while the defender is stunned by parry. So that's the normal parry vulnerability effect. You just take more damage when you're in the parry stun. However, one thing to keep in mind is that she has limber. So if you're using a low ranked character, low damage character, something like that, you want to try and space out the parries until the that 15-second passive fury runs out, because every time that you parry, you're going to be doing a little bit less damage because they're going to be they're going to be stunned for 10% less. So after 10 parries, they're going to be completely stun immune. So you should try and do one parry, get in a combo, hold block to bait heavies, get another combo, and then after that, parry again, re-get the buff, and then rinse and repeat that. You should probably go for 2 to 3 10-hit or 5-hit combos in between each parry to try and lengthen out that limber. If you have a strong enough team or you're not worried about her getting to stun immune, then by all means just fight it like a normal fight. The only other thing that you have to worry about is that she has kinetic transference, which means every time she hits into your block, she's going to gain 5% power. Storm Pyramid X, just in general, she has a ability where she glances basic attacks. So if you try and power lock her, power drain her, if you have characters that like bleed off hit, anything like that happens as you're hitting into them, or she can cause it to fail. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to power drain her to manage that kinetic transference, because it can fail and you will eat that special 3 and she will kill you. Other characters that are just good for her just in general, she doesn't really need anything specific. If you want to bring like a cold snap or frostbite immune, you can, just in case you get hit by that special 1. Yeah. Try and keep her away from special 2 as much as possible. So if you're trying to bait out specials, just try and keep dashing and keeping distance. Try not to get locked into the corner so that she can't get a 5-hit combo into you and gain a bunch of power. But yeah, enough talking. Let's jump into the actual fight itself. Yeah, I'm going to use Apocalypse. As you can see the glancing, so the crits aren't working. Wow, she actually intercepted me there. Alright, so let's go ahead and try and 1, 2, 3. Oh. I completely mistimed that. That was embarrassing. So, there we go. Actually, it's 4 hits. That's why. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Sorry, I had a complete brain. 1, 2, 3, 4. I completely forgot that had 4 hits instead of 3. But yeah, so it's going to be the wand, and then 1, 2, or wand, 2, 3, 4. Man, that was really bad. I should probably re-record this, but I'm not, because I'm trying to do everything in one take. So I'll see you at the next boss. Alright guys, and we are at boss number 3, which is Captain America. So let's go ahead and read his nodes. So bleed vulnerability, another pro player node. So as long as they're bleeding, they're going to take 200% more damage. However, it's a little bit awkward because he has shifting immunity as well. So for the first 10 seconds of the fight, he's actually going to be bleed immune. And then every 10 seconds, it basically alternates between bleed and poison. So the first 10, he's going to be immune to bleed. The next 10, he's going to be immune to poison. And then the next 10 seconds, it's going to be immune to bleed, so forth, so on. On top of that, he has buffet. So he's going to be healing every time you get a buff, every 7 seconds. And power shield. So you're not going to be able to do damage with anything other than specials. So essentially what this means is characters that can easily access a bleed and have high special damage are going to be really good in this fight. You're going to have to be a little bit patient playing around the shifting immunity if you want to utilize that bleed. However, you don't need to. You can just straight up out damage it because of the power shield. There's a lot of characters that have really high special attacks like Emma Frost, Ghost, a bunch of different characters. Storm Pyramid X you could even use. They just have really high base damage on their specials, and you can just completely ignore the bleed vulnerability. The only thing that you kind of want to be careful for is buffet. So you want to try to hold block and parry instead of dexing a bunch of stuff, because every time you get that dexterity buff, he's going to nullify it and then start regenning. Luckily, it's only 5%, so it's not that big of a deal, but yeah. So let's go ahead and jump into this. I'm going to use Nick Fury, but again, you can use any character that has a bleed or high special attack damage. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump. It's going to be bleed immune, so I'm just going to build up some power. Alright, now let's get to the special 2. And now we're just going to play the waiting game. So I'm just going to parry. There you go. And it's that simple with Nick Fury. You can straight up ignore the power shield at that too, because you can just... the bleeds can go through that power shield debuff. So damage over time stuff is also really good, like Omega Red, bleeders just in general, people that do a lot of poisons like Immortal Abomination. But yeah, pretty easy fight. Again, very pro player. You just have to be a little bit patient. Let's jump into the next fight. Alright guys, so welcome to boss number 4 and the first of the new characters, Silver Centurion. So this guy, he doesn't really have anything in his base kit that's any particular note. Like, he seems like a very offensive character, so fighting him, it's nothing too special. The only thing that you really have to worry about is if you stand close to him a lot, he gets locked on, which makes his... basically everything he does is more effective. So if you get hit and slip up, miss time and evade or anything like that while he's locked on, you're probably gonna get messed up. But yeah, anyways, his nodes are thermal lock, which his specials cost less as long as he has that lock on. So if he has lock on, treat it basically like what is that node? Dang, Power Reserve. There we go, Power Reserve, where they're going to be throwing a lot of specials, because every time they throw a special, instead of using that full amount, they're only going to use half. So keep that in mind. If you want to come in here with a Power Lock character just to nullify that, Power Drain character, that's probably a really good idea. But yeah, just keep that in mind. But I don't think it should impact things too much for you. Quick Spark, basically you have to be a bit aggressive, because if you don't hit him over a 6 second period, you're going to get hit with an Incinerate buff, which is going to do damage on itself. Granted, it's not going to do very much damage, but it will do some damage, and if he hits you while you have that, he'll likely be able to convert that into a plasma, and that will do a lot of damage. Hot and Bothered kind of couples with that Quick Spark, where if you have an Incinerate, you're going to have your defensive ability accuracy reduced by 40%, which means the big takeaway is that your parry has only a 60% chance to activate. So just keep that in mind if you do get hit with that Quick Spark. And then Mystic Conditioning, which is basically every time that you nullify something, the next one becomes less potent, and 10% less that it will trigger. I don't know why I'm having such a bad time talking right now. Every time you have 10% less of a chance to nullify every time you do that. So again, very simple fight. The only thing you have to do is try and be a little bit aggressive, just to keep that Incinerate off of you, and make sure to keep note of his power when he's locked on. So I'm just going to fight with Voodoo just because. And this guy looks really cool. I really like his animations. Let's see his special one, just cause. Oh, there we go. I got that incinerate. Sucks to suck. He's locked on, so he's gonna have power reserve. Ooh. Sorry about that. Forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Shout out to my boy Pooh. Let's get some poisons on him. Let's see the special 2. Pretty cool animations. I really like him, but yeah. Again, fighting him, it's nothing too special. You just have to keep in mind of that incinerate, really. But let's go ahead and jump into boss number 5. Alright guys, so welcome to the second to last boss, which is Mephisto. And this is going to be where people start having a lot of issues, I think, because Mephisto in general, like his nodes aren't anything terribly difficult or anything like that, but Mephisto as a character, you have to know how to play around him and or have a good counter to him to be able to effectively fight him, because if you go in without an incinerate or don't understand how his aura of incineration works, you're going to take a lot of damage, and it's going to seem like a never-ending struggle, because every time that he knocks you out, he's going to gain another soul. When you get him under 30%, he's going to consume all those souls to regenerate, and then he knocks you again, because it's just a vicious cycle if you don't understand how to play against him. So characters that I would recommend bringing against Mephisto are Human Torch in his Nova form, if you can get him in that with the pre-fight ability, or just wait until the special 3. He's the ultimate Mephisto counter. Void would do really good. You can even use Apocalypse if you have one that's ranked high enough. After you take 10 ticks from his Aura of Incineration, you'll become immune to it and you won't take any more damage from it. Iceman, Havoc, any character that it can either is Incinerate immune or can power control him, because or ideally even with a Petrify, because as you hit him, he's going to gain the Aura of Incineration. The Aura of Incineration gives him passive power gain per stack. So if you hit him 3 times, RNG is against you, and he gains 3 of those auras, he's going to gain insane amounts of power very quickly. As well as if he's close to you, you're going to be taking massive amounts of damage. So just keep that in mind when fighting against him. Again, my top 3 picks would probably be Human Torch with Nova Flame, Void, and I don't know, Quake probably. But Quake again is very hard, and you have to know how to play her. But yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into his nodes. This is kind of similar to kinetic transference. The kinetic instigator is the opponent generates power when striking the champion's block. So this gives you power, I think. No, I think it gives him power when he hits into your block. So it's kind of the opposite of kinetic transference. I'm not 100% sure on that, because the wording for whatever reason is confusing me right now, so I'll test it in the game, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. When he hits into your block, he gains power. Special delivery, basically you just have to throw a special every 15 hits in your combo, or you're going to get a pretty big degeneration. The easiest way to play around this is to not do full 5-hit combos, instead doing medium light mediums. You gain more power that way and less hits, or you could even do just parry medium medium. And then long distance relationship, you gain a weakness every 3 seconds that you're close to them. So if you're attacking Mephisto, you're going to gain a weakness every 3 seconds, which is going to reduce your attack, which is going to make the fight longer, which is going to make just everything in general kind of snowball out of hand. So if you want to play around this, the general thing is to do a 4-hit combo and then dash back to reset the timer. There's no visual for it, so it's kind of hard to know exactly the distance and stuff like that, but typically that works. I don't personally play around it because best case or worst case scenario, it just makes it a longer fight, but because of willpower, you'll gain just a passive regeneration from having that weakness on you. But yeah, if you want to play around it, you can. I'm going to stop rambling now. I felt like that was a really long explanation, so let's just go ahead and jump into the fight. And I'm going to use Emma Frost. Oh, nice. I stopped his regen there. That's pretty cool. And yeah, there you go. The key to Mephisto is, again, bringing an Incinerate immune so that you don't have to worry about the Aura of Incineration that much, and playing very patiently. That's really the key to this fight. Play very patiently and very methodically. Now let's go into the last fight. Alright guys, here we are at the final boss, and this is going to be the trouble fight for a lot of people. I'm going to go in depth with her abilities, kind of like Mephisto, just a little bit more in depth, because she has some very wonky mechanics that are going to make this fight pretty hard. So let's go ahead and just look at her info real quick. So I'll look at her signature ability after, just because it mentions some stuff that you won't understand yet. So all of her attacks gain a non-stacking cleanse passive for 2 seconds. When a champion with cleanse is inflicted with a debuff, it is immediately purified and cleanse is removed. While fighting as a defender, if Jabari Panther purifies a stun debuff, this ability goes on cooldown for 8 seconds. So basically what this means is that every 8 seconds, you can't stun her. Well, you'll parry her and she'll get the stun, but she will immediately purify it and retaliate. So as far as I know, characters like Apocalypse and Omega Red that shut down Shrugging Off don't do this. I don't know if don't cancel this, because I guess purification and cleanses are different than Shrugging Off. I don't know exactly how that works. There might be another character that can shut it down, but as far as I know, there isn't. So you just have to deal with that, where every 8 seconds, you can't parry her. After that, every time she gets a critical hit, she's going to inflict a bleed. Essentially what this means is if you slip up, most likely you're going to die, because she has a fairly high crit chance, as well as that bleed. It's 100% chance that she will put that bleed on you, and it does a lot of damage. Now this is the thing that makes things a little bit difficult. So the Huntress. A skilled Huntress, Jabari Panther stalks her opponent no matter where they run or hide. Gain 1 Huntress charge when attacking a stunned or ensnared opponent. Gain 3 Huntress charges whenever Jabari Panther purifies a debuff. So every time you parry her and she purifies it, she's going to gain 3 Huntress charges. And when the opponent evades or causes an attack to miss when fighting as an attacker, this only triggers while Jabari Panther has 5 or fewer charges. So if you try and ghost her, she's going to gain charges if you try and use the Nick Fury synergy. She's going to gain charges if you use characters like, I don't know, not Stealth Spidey. Well, I guess Stealth Spidey also works, but I'm thinking of Spark. What the heck is this? It's Stark Enhanced Spider-Man, where he has like the auto evade. Every time he does that auto evade on his specials or anything like that, she's going to gain more charges, but again, that only counts until she gets to 5 charges. After gaining any charges, no more can be gained for 1.25 seconds. So basically she can only gain 1 charge every 1.25 seconds, except for when she purifies that debuff. Lose 200 charges whenever the opponent gains a prowess buff or passive. So there are going to be a lot of mutants that can utilize this. Characters like Storm Pyramid X, Sunspot. I think there's even a couple like mutant-specific synergies that give prowess. You can use that to kind of counter her, which is pretty good. It's a very unique mechanic. I don't think I've seen prowess counter any nodes before, so that's pretty cool. And then the hunt. Once Jabari Panther has at least 10 Huntress charges, remove them and hunt the opponent for 9 seconds. Huntress charges cannot be gained while hunting. So basically, when she gets to that 10th Hunter charges, she goes into like a crazy attack mode where she gains a bunch of different buffs. So for starters, she becomes stun immune, and she gains a basically a guaranteed crit rating buff, which means every time she hits you, she's going to crit and she's going to bleed you. Those bleeds are very powerful, so if you're not bleed immune, you're dead. You're just dead. Additionally, the opponent cannot trigger the dexterity mastery, evade, or cause attacks to miss. And this is going to be what screws people over the most, because this means you can't evade specials if you're trying to bait out specials and you try and do like that delayed dashback where you get the dexterity buff. She's just going to hit you, and it's going to throw a lot of people off. This is why I said this is going to be the hardest fight, and why I'm going a little bit in depth. Whenever Jabari Panther purifies a debuff or the opponent fails a miss or evade, pause the hunt and all fury buffs on Jabari Panther for 2 seconds. So if you're going to try bleeding her and she purifies it, it's going to pause that hunt and her fury buffs. So be very careful when she enters the hunt, and inflicting a bleed passive pauses all bleed buffs on the opponent for 0.5 seconds. So essentially the way that you want to play this is the second you see her enter this hunt mode, just play really defensive and hold block. That's basically all you can do, or the most effective thing that you can do, because it's just a massive steroid for her. So when you see the Huntress charges get consumed and she gains the hunt, just play very defensive. Heavy attacks, don't worry about that. Just if she tries to heavy evade it. Special attacks, activating any special attack in the hunt will, within 1 second of each other, grants a non-stacking fury buff, increasing attack by 3,000 damage, that's a pretty high attack steroid. I didn't realize that. But yeah, so if she goes into the hunt and then immediately throws a special, which she's most likely to do just because of the way the AI works for her, she's going to gain a very, very strong fury buff. So just keep that in mind. Special 1 doesn't really matter, because if you get hit, you're probably dead anyway. Special 2, it pauses the hunt, so keep that in mind. Ideally, you're going to want to keep her at the special 1 and not let her get any further. And then special 3, don't worry about it. Her dupe just increases the duration, so it's going to be almost a 11-second duration for the hunt. So it just makes it a little bit longer. When Jabari Panther would gain a Hunter's charge while the hunt is active, she instead gains an indefinite counter punch. So what this is it functions like the buff that Killmonger gets after his level 1, where if you hold block and the opponent hits into you, you gain that passive unstoppable, and you can just immediately counter them. So yeah, just keep that in mind, because again, it's gonna happen where you hit into them, into their block just instinctively, and then she's going to counter you, and it's a wrap. A counterpunch charge is spent to gain unstoppable, blah, blah, blah. So let's read her actual notes. So crit resistance, so you're going to do less damage because she has high critical resistance. Attack with special burst lockdown 1. Whenever the attacker activates a special attack, the defender is afflicted with both a heal block and an armor break debuff lasting 5 seconds and reducing armor break. This is very pro player friendly. So every time you use a special, you're going to do more damage because of the armor break, and you're going to heal block her. I don't think she has any sorts of healing, so I don't know what the point of that is, but yeah. Empowered immunity. Whenever she would gain a debuff that she's immune to, she gains 33% of a bar of power. This is important for the hunt mode because she's going to be stun immune. So if you try to parry her while she's in the hunt, not only is she going to be stun immune, but she's going to gain that bar of power, gain more charges, and yeah. So again, ideally just play very, very, very defensively when the hunt is on, because it's not worth the risk of slipping up and getting hit, because if she hits you, you're just gonna die. So I'm going to go with Apocalypse for now, and we'll see how this goes. Again, so when I do the initial parry, you see how she cleanses it immediately and attacks. Just keep very, very in mind that great timer you can see there is the purification one. So she cleansed it, so now it's on. There you go. She's at 6 charges. Oh, why did I do that? Again, careful when you parry when she's not on the timer. So she's currently at 9 Huntress charges, which means she's about to enter the hunt. So there she goes. She's in the hunt. So I'm just going to play very defensive. There you go. And you saw that power gain? That's why you have to be very careful in that mode. Oh, I forgot to stack my debuffs. So that's parry, cleanse, parry again. And this should be it. Okay, so yeah. I think she's going to be the trouble child for the broad majority of players because of that purification mechanic combined with the stun immune and empowered immunity where she gains a bunch of power. It's a lot to keep track of, and it's very counterintuitive, just the way that a lot of people play the game, where we're kind of trained to hit into block just to do some sort of damage and try and get the AI to react to us when we're baiting specials. But if you do that when she's under the hunt, she's going to activate that counter punch. If you try to evade special attacks or do shallow evades while you're trying to bait specials, which again we do instinctively, if she's in the hunt, it's going to fail and you're just going to instantly get blown up. It's probably going to slip you up a couple of times at first, but when you start actively thinking about it, it's a fairly easy fight because it's easy to play around. Basically, just play around that 8-second timer on the purification so you can parry her, and then play around her hunt. When she has the hunt up, just stay far away. Act as if it's this Mephisto when he has the Aura of Incineration. It's a game of keep away for those 10 seconds or whatever that she has it. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys want to see me do more difficulties, so if you want to see me do Heroic or Uncollected or Cavalier, or you want to see me redo these with weaker champions, suicide buffs, that kind of stuff, leave all of your requests in the comments below, and I'll go ahead and get back to those over the upcoming days and make whatever videos it is that you guys are requesting. But hopefully this video helped, and yeah, appreciate you guys for clicking. Thank you guys for watching, subscribing, all of that, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.